Assalamu alaikum friends, I'm Dr. Mahdi from waddan software channel. Welcome back to our SQLite Database course tutorials. In the last tutorials, we learned how to create SQLite database and we learned how to insert data and how to delete and update data. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to add specific student in favorites list. But before we start, as usual, I'd like to advise you to practice for this tutorial many times. And if you didn't watch the last tutorials, please go back and watch them before you move to this tutorial. And if you didn't subscribe in the channel, don't wait anymore and subscribe now. And activate the bell to receive notifications for the next tutorials. And if you found this tutorial helpful, just give like. And okay, let's start. First of all, here in the student data helper, we'll create a new table to this database. So we can copy this table and we'll change the name to table favorite, and here for example student favorite. Okay, and here in the onCreate we'll duplicate this line so we can copy and paste, and we'll change the table to table favorite we just created now. And for the ID, we don't want it to be auto increment anymore, so we can remove this. Okay, and here in the onUpgrade, we'll duplicate this line also, and we'll change the table to table favorite. So now the new table is ready in the database, and we can start to make processes in this table. The first one is inserting data to the favorites list. The second one is to delete data from the favorites list, and the third one is updating data. So we can start with the inserting data. We have here the insert method in the database. We can copy this method and duplicate it, and we'll change the name to insert favorite student data. And here we need to insert the ID, so we can write ID because ID is not auto increment anymore. And we'll add a new content values for the column ID, so we can copy and paste this one, and we'll change to ID, column ID, and ID. Okay, and here in the table, we'll just change the table to table favorite. And now this method is ready now, and we can go to the menu. As you remember, in the ABS menu, we created two items, one for delete and one for update. So we'll need to add another item. So we can copy and paste, and we'll change the title to favorite. And here we need icon for favorite. So here in the app, right click, vector asset, and we'll search for the favorite icon. And the color is green. Next, finish. Okay, and here favorite. So the menu is ready now. We can close it. And here in the main activity, in the ABS list view, here we had two items, one for delete and the second one for update. So here we write if condition, if item dot get title dot equals update, because this code for updating data. Okay, and here we'll add another condition else, and here will be the code for the adding a student to favorites list. And if you remember, in the last tutorial we created two variables, one int did and one string dname, and I told you that I created these variables to make the ID and the name are available every time when we use ABS list view. So here we have already the ID and the name, and it remains the grade, phone, age, and image. So we can write string grade equals to student dot get grade, and for phone and age And finally for image. Okay, now we have the ID and the name and the grade and phone and age and image, and we can insert them to the new table. We created already the method, so we can write boolean res equals to student db dot insert favorite student data, and here we have the ID and the name and grade and phone, age and image. Okay, and we can test if this student is added or not. So we can write if condition if res equals to true, so the student is added, and else is not added. And we can write toast, and here the name plus is added to favorites, and here a new toast, and we can write here the name plus is already in your favorites. Okay, we can make a quick test. Here, sorry, I lost the data for the last tutorials, so I'll pause and create some data. Okay, we have now some data. For example, here, if we want to add this student to favorite list, we have already the icon appeared here in the ABS list view. If we click it, it will give is added to the favorite list. And if we try again to add here, is already in your favorite list. We can check if really this student added or not through here in the device file explorer, data, and the package name here, and the database student. Right click sync, and we'll save it to the PC here. Okay, and in the database browser we'll open the database, and here we have already a student favorite table created, and if we click it we'll find that the student Dana is added to the favorite list. Okay, we finished the first process, and now the second process is to show the data in a list view. So here in the student data helper we have already the method for getting data, so we can copy this method and duplicate it, and we'll change the name to get favorite student data. Okay, and here we'll change the table name to table favorite, and we'll need to create another activity to show the favorites. So here activity, empty activity, and we'll change the name to favorite activity. Finish, and in the MXL file we'll add a list view. So here okay, now the XML file is ready, and we'll go to the favorite activity, and here we'll define the list view. So list view, and the student data helper, student DB, and the student adapter, and array list, and the student, and also we'll add the int the ID and int the name as we did in the main activity. So int the ID and string the name. Now in the onCreate, student db equals to new student data helper, and the context this, and the list view find view by ID r.id and list view f, And now we can create a method to show the new data in the new list view. So we can write show favorite data. Okay, and here we'll create it, and the array list equals to student db dot get favorite student data this time, and the adapter equals to new student adapter, the context this, and the array list, and the list view dot set adapter, and we'll update the adapter. So adapter dot notify data set changed. So we're almost finished, but here in the activity XML file, and we'll create a button to open the favorite activity. So button okay, now in the main activity, in the onCreate method, for example here, button btn favorite equals to find view by id r.id.btn favorite, and we'll set on a click listener for this button. So btn favorite dot set on a click listener, new on a click listener, and here we'll create intent to the favorite activity. So intent equals to new intent, and main activity dot this to favorite activity dot class, and start activity intent. We can make quick test. Now when we click the favorite button, the d.مهدي is shown, but when we click it, nothing happened. So we want to show the details for this student, so we'll make some changes in our code. Here in the list view on item click listener, if you remember, we send the position to the student activity, and we'll save it here. But the problem now is that when we send the position, for example here, Dana is the first position. So when we click it, it will show the first position here is Mahdi Hashim. What can we do? We need to change this intent, and we'll send all the data to the student activity, and we'll save them and show them again. So what can we do is to delete this. So here we'll get the ID and name and phone and grade and age and image from the database. So we write student equals to array list dot get position. We have the position already in the on item click listener, and the ID to differentiate it from this variable equals to student dot get ID, and string name and for image byte image equals to student dot get image. And now we have the data, we can send them through the intent. So here intent dot put extra, the first one is ID, and a string dot value of the ID, and the name intent This code is ready now, and we can go to the student activity and we'll change this code, so we don't need this to here, and we receive the variables through the intent from the main activity. So we can write intent equals to get intent, and the first one is the ID, so string ID equals to intent dot get string extra ID, and for image get byte array extra and the image. So okay, we can test now, and when I click any student, it works very good. And now in the main activity, we'll just copy the list view dot set on item click listener, and we'll paste it in the favorite activity here, so it will work fine. And we'll just change this to favorite activity, and we can test again favorites, and this the first position. When we click it, it works very good. If we add another student, for example in this position, favorites, okay, very good. Now we finished the second process for showing data, and we'll move to the third one, is to delete data. Here in the student data helper, we have the delete student method. We can copy and paste, and we'll change the method name to delete favorite data, and only here the table favorite. That's all. And we'll need to make another ABS list view options menu here in the favorite activity. But before that, we'll create a menu for this ABS list view. So here, right click, a new menu, I'll call it delete menu, and it will include only one item. So here item, and title only is delete, and the icon, we have already delete icon, so we can write delete. So it is ready now. And here in the favorite activity, we can create ABS list view dot multi-choice model listener. We'll call it mode listener equals to new ABS list view. Okay, and here we'll inflate the new menu, delete menu. So we'll change this to true, and here get menu inflator dot inflate r dot menu dot delete menu and the instance menu. Okay, and we'll close this ABS list view. And here in the ABS list view, in this main activity here, we'll just copy these lines and paste them here. Okay, and up here we'll connect the list view to the ABS list view. So we'll write list view dot set multi-choice model listener mode listener, and list view dot set choice mode ABS list view choice mode multiple model. So it will work now. But before we test, we want to add the code for deleting the item. So here in the main activity, when we deleted the item from the list view, we can copy these lines and paste them here. We'll change this to true first. Okay, and we have another method to show the data, show favorite data, and we'll change the context to favorite activity and favorite activity. And here we'll use the delete favorite student instead of this delete student. So delete favorite student. So now it is ready. But now we have a problem. I'll show you. For example, here in the favorites, we have, for example, this student. The problem is when we delete this student from the database, it will not delete it from the favorites. So what can we do is here in the main activity, when we deleted the student from the database, we can copy this and paste it here, and we just change this to delete favorite student, so it will be deleted also. If we test and we check the favorites, we have here this student, and when we delete this student from the database, delete OK, this student will be finished also from the favorites list. Okay, now we finished the deleting process and we'll move to the update process. Here in the student database helper, again we'll copy this method and duplicate it, and here update favorite student data, and we just change the table to table favorite. That's all. And here in the main activity, when we updated data here, so we have here the line that updated the data. We can copy this, okay, and we just paste it here, and we'll change the method to update favorite student. That's all. So every time when we update a student in the database, it will be updated also in the favorites list. So we'll check again for the last time, maybe. Here in the favorite list, we have, for example, this student, Dr.Mahdi, and we want to update this student. Here, for example, I'll update it to, for example, Dana Hashim. She is my daughter. And I'll change the photo also. For example, to this cute girl. Okay, update. So it is updated here, and when we go to favorites, it is also updated here. So finish this tutorial and see you in the next tutorial, and it will be about how to make search in the SQLite database. So don't miss it, and don't forget to practice for this tutorial. And also, if you didn't subscribe to the channel, don't wait anymore and subscribe now, and activate the bell to receive notifications for the next tutorials. And if you found this tutorial helpful, just give like and thanks for that, and see you in the next tutorial, and thanks for watching.